Hi, I'm Rachel King. Welcome to my channel. This week is all about quilted jackets, that wardrobe staple. I found 10 different patterns. I'm going to review them now. You might want to keep watching. At the end, I'm going to talk quilted fabrics, pre-quilted fabrics, quilting fabrics yourself, and I'm going to talk about the whole process of binding the edge of a garment, from making the bias binding strip to actually attaching it to the garment. If that's something you haven't done before, keep watching, because there are a few sort of gadgets and tips that make it much more straightforward than you might think, so don't be put off by the bias bound edges. Okay, let's begin. So I'm beginning with L Stitch's Sage Jacket. It's got a couple of variations. This is quite a sort of straightforward, easy looking quilted jacket with two fastening options at the front. So you can either have ties or you can have a button fastening. And it's also got this nice sort of slanted pocket detail on the front as well. What unifies it rather, is the bound edging, which you've got around the neck, around the fronts, around the hem. It's that continual, so round your neck, down the front, around the hem. And also, I believe the sleeve cuffs have got a bound edging. And the version with the pockets, the top edge also has that lovely sort of bound detail. And I think nearly all of these have got that detail on. And you can match, you can contrast, you can make it a real feature, and it's not that difficult to do. And I'm going to talk about it at the very end, because there are some sort of tools and techniques that really help you achieve that. Okay, so that was number one. The next one is from a French pattern company called Cami Made, and I did a video last year on French sewing patterns, which was well received actually, and this was one of the patterns that I featured. It's absolutely lovely. It's like this sort of very soft, easy, sorry, I'm looking at the picture, wrap jacket with a tie fastening, and you've got 4 versions there. Now it's got 2 necklines. It's got a high crossover and then a slightly lower crossover. So the crossover point, you've got one option that's got a quite high, and I think the other option looks a bit lower. You've got raglan sleeves. View A is, I'd say it's short. I'm not quite sure whether I'd call it cropped, and it's got patch pockets. View B is slightly longer and it's got welt pockets. C and D I think are the same shape, but view C has got a gathered waist on it. If you like a bit of cinching in at the waist, which I do, otherwise I just look like a tube, that might be the style for you. And then you've got that same length again, but just with welt pockets and with a single tie fastening at the top. So some really, really lovely variations there. Let's have a look at the size set. So 8 sizes, and they just go by bust sizes, so from 80 centimetre bust to 114 centimetre bust, so 8 sizes overall, so quite a wide inclusive size set. Again, like the last garment, you've got that lovely bias bound edging, which continue into the ties on it as well. And again, you could make it a contrast or a matching feature, because you can make bias binding out of your own fabric. You don't have to buy ready-made bias binding. Well, it's your choice really. And I like the way they've got just a very simple, very sort of linear quilt effect here, and we'll talk more about quilted fabrics as I go through as well. So that was number 2. Number 3 is I'm not quite sure how to pronounce this. I think it's Hovea from Megan Nielsen, and you've got 6 variations here. There are so many variations. I'm just concerned I'm not going to be able to describe them all properly to you, but there are links. There's a link below in the description to every pattern that I've chosen here, so you can have a really good look yourself. So 6 versions. So I would say you've got cropped, you've got short, and you've got the longer mid-thigh length. And I think on the models here, I would say you've got the short or regular, not cropped, and then the long length, which is, I think the one on the left, the green one, is probably view B, and then the cream with the grey contrast, I would say, is view D. So you've got the sort of the regular, medium regular, and the long, not the cropped. I believe this can be reversible. You've got edge to edge options. That A, C and D have this kind of like it looks almost like a bound collar edge, which are edge to edge, and view C's got a self type belt. They've all got pockets, and then view B, edge to edge with a tie front, view D, the longer one, and view F, just edge to edge. So lots of variations there. You could do contrasting pockets, you could have a contrasting belt, which you could match to the bias binding, could also be contrast. So I think that's a really interesting and versatile pattern. So there are lots and lots of different options you can do, and I think what would be nice is view F, just to have it reversible. So you could have 2 different colours, so you know it'd make it a much more usable piece, wouldn't it, in your wardrobe. So that's the Megan Nielsen's Hovea jacket for number 3. Okay, this next one I absolutely love. Okay, and I'm not familiar with this company, so if you are, tell me more. And I probably can't even pronounce it properly, Hovea Grace Dolman jacket. I think this is really cool, and it apparently is beginner friendly. It's got a zip front fastening, it's got a stand collar, it's got this dolman continual sleeve, and really nice welt pockets. I think it's a little bit Isabel Marant. I think it's quite cool. I like the square quilting that they've used for it, and the bound hem and the collar edge detail, and I think the cuffs have got a bound edge as well. So again, as I said before, you could contrast that. You don't have to match it. You know, you could have contrasting binding in your welt pockets, or you could just match it all. And you know, you can use ready-made quilted fabric, which is 2-sided. You could quilt your fabric yourself, and you can put mount a lining on the back, or you could quilt your outer and your lining fabric together with wadding. But like I was saying about the bias binding, we'll talk about that more at the end if you're not familiar with all of that, because there are some sort of techniques and things that are kind of quite handy to know about that. So that's the Cordon Bier, the Grace Dolman sleeve jacket. Okay, so I am going to move on to a fibre mood pattern, and I actually try and find it on my screen. I've got 3 from Fibre Mood, if I can actually find it. So, oh, I love this one, and I featured this one before as well. It's the Fibre Mood Marcia jacket, and it's a really clever one. I think, again, this is a little bit Isabel Marant, which is why I did it after the previous one. They've got a similar look to them, a little bit retro, a bit 70s, that kind of slightly sort of cool blouse-on-y look. This is a really clever pattern though, because you can zip out, the sleeves are attached with a zip, so it's a jacket or it's a body warmer, so really versatile. It's got an elasticated hem and sleeve cuff, and popper fastenings down the front. Again, sizes UK 4 to 32, really inclusive size set. Love that one, really love that one. Okay, I'm moving on to Now, I have included, if I can, yes, again, Fibre Mood, got a little trio from Fibre Mood. The Gabriela body warmer, I know it's not a jacket, but I just thought it was so cute, and such a, I mean, it's a useful piece. You can wear it, you know, over a t-shirt in the spring, or you could layer it up over knitwear in the winter. So really, really useful. I just think it's super cute, lined or unlined, and again it's got the bias bound edging around the armholes, around the neck, front and hem, and then these slightly slanted patch pockets, and they've done it there in a classic square quilting design, which is on the diagonal. Really sweet. I mean, I can see that in a little ditzy. You could do it in shirting. I mean, there's, you know, there's really no end to the fabrics you could do that, and it would be nice in like a chambray, like a lightweight denim, maybe even corduroy. Actually, it would be really, really nice. Okay, so on to the next one from Fibre Mood. Is this the Irma body warmer? And this one and then the next two I think are slightly sporty. I really like the shaped collar, and I particularly like the shoulder trim, which is in fact optional. So you've got that sort of slightly extended look over the shoulder, which I think is great. It's got patch pockets. I guess you could probably make that reversible if you mounted the quilted fabric on a lining, or you had a double-faced quilting fabric, because you've got the bias finish. I think I think the belt is actually an additional extra in the photograph, although you could make a self fabric belt, but I actually think it gives it a bit of shape. I think personally I'd probably go for the belt option. I think it must be the fabric they've made it in, but it looks slightly sporty, doesn't it? I think that's a really good one. So that is the third one from Fibre Mood, and the size sets for Fibre Mood, size UK 4 to 32, so that basically goes from extra small to extra, extra, extra large. Okay, so I have another slightly sporty style here. From Paper Cut Patterns. I've never seen this before. It's the Emmi jacket. So you've got three variations there. So you've got the short version with the drawstring waist. You've got a sort of mid-length version with a shaped hem, and then you've got a long version with a straight hem. They all have the same neckline and the same button through front placket, and I'm just thinking aloud here, I'm wondering whether you could use big popper studs, and they look like they made it in some kind of slightly sporty water repellent ripstop even fabric here, and I like the way they've contrasted the placket and the collar to the main body and the sleeve of the jacket. I think it's really effective, and they've got the quilting in the body vertically, and in the pockets it's going horizontally. I just think it works really well. So you've got three lengths, three different hems, you've got three different pockets, you've got the big slanted patch pockets, you've got the rounded patch pockets, the symmetrical ones, and then you've got welt pockets. So it's all a bit interchangeable, and on top of which you've got four different collar attachments. So the first one you can see on this infographic, and you probably want to have a look, click on the link below and have a closer look at this. So you've got the bomber jacket style neckline, so this will attach into the neckline. Then you've got like a classic collar, you've got a stand collar, and you've got a hood. So it's a brilliant pattern. It's really cool, and it can be reversible as well. So I think that's a nice little sporty number. Having said that, you could make it in Liberty Tana lawn to make it look contemporary, not sporty, I guess. So yeah, lots of options there. Another slightly sporty number, and this is a much bigger silhouette. I've seen this before, it's lovely. It's the Cheryl jacket from Vicky Sews. It's straight cut, oversized, drop shoulder, welt pockets, and I think those are popper studs that sit down the centre front, and it's got a bound finish. So you're going to, but again, like with I think nearly all of them, you bind the neckline, the fronts and the hem in a continual piece, and then set the same with the sleeve hem, your cuffs. It's got welt pockets, so you would want a lining, a separate lining, I'm guessing, but I think you could probably make that reversible actually, couldn't you? Perhaps, depending on the centre front fastening that you chose. But I think it's really sort of quite cocoony, isn't it? A really, really nice shape, and great at the moment because it's very, very cold here in the UK, so that would be a really great piece to layer up, and great for going walking, etc. as well. But I like the way they've made it in this really vivid, sort of almost like a lime green, chartreuse green, I don't know, really, really nice. Okay, last but no means least, I have chosen one that I found on Etsy, from a store on Etsy called Tropical Research, and it's the Cozy Coat. And this one stands out to me because I think it's probably one of the most straightforward patterns, but there are lots of pattern hacks you could do with it. If you look on my infographic on the right hand side, they've got lots of really lovely little sketches of sort of things that you could do with this basic pattern. It's a very basic pattern. I just need to look at my notes to remind myself. So you've got a front panel, a back panel, a sleeve panel, pocket panel. Really, really simple. I'm guessing they don't look like they're patch pockets, perhaps they're side pockets, but I can't see that. But if you made it without the pockets, you could use a double face quilted fabric, so it's quilted with fabric on both sides, and then you could just bind the edges and bind the inside seams, and it could be a reversible jacket. And you could do all of these hacks. You know, they've got, I don't know whether you can see, but they've got a version with a seam across the main body of the jacket with a pocket in, and that's a really simple amendment. You just insert a seam across the width of the jacket, front and back. You could make a much shorter version and put patch pockets on it. You could elasticate the hem. You could make it slightly fuller. There's a sketch there, and they've converted one into a raglan sleeve, which is probably a bit more advanced, not impossible to do. So yeah, so the Cozy Coat from Tropical Research, I think it's their bestseller, which doesn't surprise me. I think it's a really great pattern, you know, and you could quilt it yourself. You could do, there's a variety of quilting stitch designs you could do, but I particularly like the way they've just done it simply in massive squares here. Really, really good. So I think that was quite a good one to end on. And if you're a novice stitcher, I would buy some pre-quilted fabric, and I think that would be the one that I would definitely go for. In fact, I'm quite tempted to make one myself. I hope you enjoyed my selection and you like them as much as I do. There are a couple of things I just wanted to talk to you about. Quilted fabric and bias bound edges. So firstly, there are loads and loads of pre-quilted fabrics available on the market, so don't feel you have to quilt your own fabric, especially if you're a novice or you haven't got an awful lot of time, or you just find a really nice pre-quilted fabric that you like. I don't think there are any prizes for you know, quilting it yourself if you don't need to, unless it floats your boat and you really want to do it. I can quilt. It's not a passion of mine. I don't mind it, but it's not really my thing. So I would always err on the side of buying pre-quilted fabric, to be honest with you, if I could find something I really liked. If not, I would quilt it myself. So here are a few examples. So this one from Croft Mill is a polycotton hard-wearing cord with a, sorry, I'm looking at my screen, a water-resistant polyester lining. There are a couple here from Merchant and Mills. I think they're probably Indian cotton. So you've got this plain khaki coloured one, which is quilted, and then this double-faced Indian cotton print, and you've got two different prints. So it might be quite interesting to make something reversible with a print like that. And then slightly different handwriting, some sort of quite pretty cotton print, double-faced quilted fabrics from Higgs and Higgs. And if you go to the Stitch Festival, you'll be familiar with them. They have a lovely range. So a few suggestions there. However, if you want to go it alone and bravely quilt your own fabric and you haven't done it before, I would suggest getting a walking foot. So I've put a picture up here of the walking foot that I've got for my, it's for my Singer machine. It's one that I know. I'm not sponsored by anybody or anything, so that's why I've put it up there, because I know it does the job and it's really good. It happens to be for my sewing machine that I use, and as the name would suggest, people also call it a quilting foot. The feet sort of walk along the fabric. So when you're quilting, you've got loads of layers. You've got the outer, maybe an interlining, and the wadding or batting, and then the lining underneath. So you could have quite a few layers going on there, and obviously they're tack basted together, but you don't want any movement. And the act of the fact that the foot walks along means that is less likely to happen. So possibly a good investment. More gadgets for you if you're not familiar with them. Don't be scared about doing a bias bound edge. The first thing is you can make your own bias binding really easily by cutting strips of fabric at a 45-degree angle to the selvage. You do need extra fabric when you do this because you do use quite a lot, so bear that in mind. And most of those patterns that I showed you will should mention that in the instructions. If they don't, I know a lot of them do, if they don't, you need to take that into account and work out how much bias binding you need to create. This first picture, I use bias binding folders all the time. They're brilliant, and this is my most widely used one, the blue one. Bought them on Amazon. This is a 25mm folder, so you'd put that's 2.5 centimeters. You would put 5 centimeter strip in. It comes out the other end, folded over, and you fold it in half. So it's about just over 1 centimeter wide finished width. But you can get them. You can see there are 5 different sizes here. You could use one of those to make your bias binding if you are not going to buy ready-made, and more often than not for something like this you need to use self fabric. Okay, then the next step when you're attaching your binding is you're going to get a much better finish with a bias binding presser foot. Again, these two are from the Singer brand, only because it's a brand that I use. The one in the bottom right hand corner is the one that I've got, and you can adjust it for different width bias bindings. You feed the bias binding in and it encloses around the edge of the fabric. It's secure and you get a really neat edge in a way that doing it by hand is going to be more challenging. And then the presser foot at the top, it's just a bit more of it's a slightly different version. But there are lots of versions out there. You may perhaps have one with your sewing machine anyway. You probably may be quite familiar with bias binding presser feet. But I thought I'd stick this on the end because you might have been looking thinking, oh, I can't do the bias binding bit, and no. But you can, you absolutely totally can, but you probably want to practice. But it's all doable. It's not difficult, it really isn't. Anyway, I hope you enjoyed that and found it useful. Thanks again for all the likes and new subscribers that I've had, and all the great comments I've had over the last week or so. It's been brilliant. Really sort of energizes me to make more content for you. Keep the comments coming. Thanks for all the feedback on the Liberty prints. I've got a long list. It's on my notice board. I can see it now in front of me, and I'm going to do another video featuring all the prints that you liked. So thank you very much for doing that. So that will come out in the next couple of weeks. Otherwise, I will see you on Wednesday. Bye.